Hola, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the channel. We are today, Thursday, September 3rd, 2020. First, I want to thank you so much for those of you who have subscribed to the channel. Thank you for those of you whom are continuously sharing the videos. And a huge and profound thank you for those of you whom are supporting the channel through our PayPal link. I truly appreciate that. So for today, I am bringing into you a new series on the channel, and this series is in regards to three former and present Haitian presidents that I wanted to analyze and bring forth. I've been wanted to talk about these things for the longest of time, but you guys understand that there's not really sort of like a true democracy here in Haiti. And a couple of my close relatives had said to me, listen, you already know where you live, you know everything about it, so be safe. But you know what? I just feel like, I don't know, I just feel like it's now or never. So who cares? And I just really also feel like these videos are going to tie in with, me inviting people to come to Haiti, because a lot of times I feel like, people might just tell you, oh, come invest in Haiti. But the reality is, ladies and gentlemen, there are many people who are really oblivious. In this series, we are going to go into details and we are going to analyze three Haitian presidents. The Haitian president that I have chosen to analyze are Bertrand Aristide, who served 2 terms. I feel like his presidency was very important to tie in why, just the intricacies of politics here in Haiti. The second president that I've decided to analyze is Michel Martelly, because I was present during his term here in Haiti. Excuse the noise. And the last president that I am going to bring forth is the current president that we have right now, who happens to be Jovenel Moise. I want to talk about him because I feel like he is the catalyst for the next president, and also his presidency, there's like a lot of definitely intricacies in his his term. So it's already way too long, and let's begin. Now, for this particular series, the way that we are going to go about it is that I am going to first bring into you the facts, After the facts, I'm gonna go in with personal thoughts and personal opinions. That is how we are going to proceed in this series. Without further ado, let us begin. Let's not forget that I have my notes. I have everything from my notes, and then that's why I'm gonna read from my notes for you. So let's begin. Analyzing the Haitian president, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, alias Titi. Jean-Bertrand Aristide came into power in February 7th, 1991 in the country of the Republic of Haiti. His first term was short-lived, as he was outed in a military coup organized by Raoul Cedras and Roger Lafontaine, escaping the country on September 30th, 1991. Let us go into the background of who exactly is Jean-Bertrand Aristide. Jean-Bertrand Aristide is a former priest born in the south of Haiti, more precisely in Port Salut, on July 15, 1953. In 1974, he entered the Noviciat Salésien de la Vega in the Dominican Republic. The following year, he came to Haiti, and in 1979, he received a license of psychology from Université d'État d'Haïti. On July 3rd, 1983, Aristide was ordained priest. Becoming one of the representatives of a fierce local movement, Petit Comité l'Église, Aristide is time and time sent into exile by the then Archbishop of Port-au-Prince, whom was very, very close to the Duvalier regime around the time. Aristide was sent consecutively into the countries of Italy, Israel, Canada, and Greece. On January 5th, 1985, he returns to his home country of Haiti and founded an orphanage, Famille C'est la Vie, having for a mission to rehabilitate street kids here in Haiti. Coming at home, Aristide continues with his very flamboyant sermons denouncing the economic elite, the imperialism of Washington, and the maquisards from the Duvalier regime. His sermons becomes more and more flamboyant, and many are regrouping to listen to him, catching the subtle yet forceful messages that he is saying. On September 11th, 1988, a huge massacre organized by the Tonton Macoute has taken place, and Aristide is not amongst the dead nor the wounded, having escaped. This massacre was called Massacre de Saint-Jean-Bosco. Let us analyze the first presidential term of Jean-Bertrand Aristide. Aristide was chosen by the National Front for Change and Democracy to become a candidate for the presidential election. The measure he proposed in his electoral program consisted in supporting industry and agriculture, food self-sufficiency through agrarian reform, combating smuggling in the ports, and reorganizing the administration, as well as increasing the minimum wage. For the first time in the Haitian history, the elections are organized democratically and surveyed by OAS. On December 8, 1990, all can observe a massive fool in all parts of the country headed to the voting place. And on December 16, 1990, Aristide won the election against Marc Bazin, whom was the chosen candidacy by the United States, having received nearly $36 million from NED, an organization linked by the CIA to interfere in the electoral process in order to support pro-American candidates. On February 7th, 1991, Aristide is inaugurated. However, all parties are against him. The military showcased their discontent by withholding one cannon from the ones allowed to each president. So the army was not against him. The elites, the United States, and the church also were not too fond of that priest. His first term is shaky. Haiti is still going through the withdrawal of the Tonton Macoute, whom are repeatedly lynched and tortured by the population. Aristide doesn't have the grip to stop them, which showcased chaos under his leadership. The United States government isn't looking at these events lightly, as several others are starting in the region, such as the invasion of Grenada in 1984, along with Panama and their support to paramilitary groups in Nicaragua to destroy the government there in 1989. The United States continues to gang up on Aristide, wanting to tarnish his image, spending billions in media campaign against him, all financed by USAID and NED. Finally, on September 30th, 1990, Aristide becomes victim of a coup d'etat organized by the army and forced into exile. Roger Lafontaine dies and Raoul Cedras, general of the army, becomes the de facto president. Let us analyze now his exile, what happened while he was in exile for the first time. Aristide is received at the White House by George H.W. Bush on October 4th, 1991. The attitude of the United States is very ambiguous during this coup, as they have taken financial and trade sanctions against Haiti, and the UN who puts an embargo against Haiti in June 1993. So this is why Aristide is in exile in the United States. The CIA post chief John Camberdian delivers massive arms and ammunition through Emmanuel Constant, Toto Constant, who just got deported to Haiti recently, and Louis Jodel Chamblin, helping them to organize the paramilitary group FRAP. Under the leadership of FRAP, between 4,000 and 5,000 people are murdered in Haiti. The United States is close to going into election and start pressuring both Aristide and Cedras to get into an agreement. On July 1993, the Governor's Island Agreement is signed. The IMF suggested a program that Aristide must agree to in order to return to Haiti. Such program involves the maintenance of low wages. You remember how he wanted to go up the wages, but IMF is now giving him the conditions. So, the maintenance of low wages, the privatization of public, elimination of custom duties, and greater access for foreign companies to Haitian resources and markets. The program is signed and Aristide comes home on October 1993. However, this agreement ends in failure when on October 1993, the American government turned around the ship USS Harlan County, carrying in 200 soldiers, to which a very angry crowd prohibited disembarkation in Port-au-Prince. Aggravated by the assassination of former Justice Minister Guy Malary and by a new killing targeting Aristide supporters, the UN Security Council decrees a naval blockage of Haiti. Okay, now let us analyze. Now, after being in exile for, I believe, 3 years, Aristide is reinstalled into the presidency. Aristide returns to the presidency, this time around supported by the United States under the presidency of Bill Clinton. He has to submit to numerous concessions. Such concessions include an agreement providing for an amnesty for those responsible for the coup, controlling Washington over the formation of new police forces, power sharing with the opposition and privatizations. He appoints businessman Smart Michael as prime minister and lets him apply the neoliberal inspired measures expected by international financial institutions. Its American allies are quickly the beneficiaries of these privatizations, especially in the telecommunications sector. In 1995, Aristide dissolved the army. At the end of the November, the presidential election campaign begins, and the American government insists that Jean-Bertrand Aristide respects the Constitution of 1987, which prohibits 2 consecutive terms despite his 3 years in exile. Aristide accepts, and 2 days before the vote of December 17, 1995, he announces his support for the candidacy of René Préval. So now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the first term that we have analyzed. All of these facts, I have taken them from the internet, straight from Wikipedia and a few other notes here and there, but all of them are listed on the internet. Now, I want to come in and I want to give my own perspective, because I remember this era very, very well. I remember when Aristide was campaigning. As a matter of fact, if I can share something a little personal, in my household, my parents were very, very divided, because my mother was a very, very pro supporter of President Aristide, and my father was like titty-tattery, not really. But I remember specifically as a child, I was against him. And I remember during the voting stages, I counseled my father into voting for Marc Bazin. And when Aristide won the presidency, my mother went and purchased like a huge cake. She made so many things, and she didn't serve my father and I must have been 7 years old. So see, I go back really far from doing politics. Now, why do I come in and why am I bringing this up? This is very, very important. It's very fresh into my memories, as to me, I believe that I was really kind of like, groomed around that time to understand Haitian politics, right? In my young years, the reality is that I remembered specifically, Aristide was a very passionate, just a passionate person. As a matter of fact, doing this research was very important to me, because I wasn't aware that he was like this from a very, very tender age, since the Duvalier era, where they had to like remove him and send him into exile. So he had always been against imperialism, against the United States. Most of us are, because we understand that the United States government is always working in their own benefit, and not working in the benefit of none of us here in the Caribbean nor in Latin America. That's just the way that they operate. However, what I have come to understand and realize is that politics in Haiti is not done alone. The politics in Haiti is very, 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 very intricate. When you are dealing politics, first we have to understand and we have to know that politics is the art of interest. So Aristide becoming democratically, elected, the United States, though they had interfered, you guys can see, they spent billions of dollars to try to like make sure that he did not win the presidency. He still won the presidency because the population went out to vote. Let us not fool ourselves. Like, if I have to go back to El Tabascal, who was actually there prior to Aristide, I'm going to say that Aristide was one of the presidents of Haiti. In my memories, that was definitely democratically elected. The first time the population went out to vote for him. The entire population of Haiti were for him. So the world was looking at that, because Haiti was just out of the dictatorship. So the United States were really kind of like, they couldn't really like overtly try to stop the election, because everybody could see that the population of Haiti went out to vote and Aristide won, right? But what Aristide failed to understand, because this is probably where maturity comes into place, where I understood what it constitutes of, politics in Haiti. And that's not only politics in Haiti, it's politics in general, right? Aristide failed to understand that the first thing that was against Aristide was that everybody was against him, right? He only had the population of Haiti, but what Aristide did not understand was, like, even with the population of Haiti being with you, there was some type of, I don't want to say give and take, right? Or maybe a line, like Haiti was too fresh of the wound out of the Duvalier regime. You had the Americans who were controlling, as you guys can see from the notes. I spoke about the United States meddling like times and times again, and when we are going into the second term, it gets really worse, right? So you have to understand that in life, period. You always have to understand that whoever holds the power is who has the money, and whoever has the money is who controls. Once you understand that, and you understand where you fit, right? So it could be that, okay, I don't yet have the power, but what do you have and what can you play against? So when Aristide went and became the president the first term, he did not understand that. He did not understand politics in Haiti. Politics in Haiti, when you deal with politics in Haiti, you not only deal with the population and with local, you're dealing with legislative, you're dealing with these senators who are always opposing you, you're dealing with your opponents, you're dealing with the American government, but you also have the drug games. You also have the drug trafficking. Let us not forget where Haiti's, like, I'm going ahead of myself. Okay, let's go back because I'm ahead of myself. During this first presidency, he did not understand that, right? The first thing is that the army was holding a lot of power, and the army was supported by the CIA. All these guys, you know, General Cedras and all of them, you know, they went and they, you know, it's the Americans that supported these guys. So, of course, the first coup d'etat was supported. You know, they needed guns, they needed ammunition. They did not, you know, they knew, the United States knew that. Now, the United States is not too fond of nationalism. You guys know that. You know, when you speak too loudly of really your intentions, you know, which Aristide did, he spoke really loudly of his intention. Aristide also went against the elite. Let's not forget that here in Haiti, they do control, right? You got the, I don't like to call them the bourgeoisie because look at the state of the goddamn country. But you still have them. You also have the commerçants. You know, if you go back to the video that I made for you about Haiti class and color politics, you know, I go into details into these things, right? So you have the commerçants, you have the international community, and you have the church. These are all power that you have to not necessarily like follow, or but you just got to be able to work with them, you know. And I do not believe that he understood that in the first term, his first term, because he went against the people that were holding more power. Because becoming the president of Haiti, yes, it's power, but it's not really power because you do not really control. And he had all the sectors against him, so it was very easy to give him the first coup d'etat. Now, before we jump in, because we're going to analyze his second term, I do believe that when he went into exile and he sat with the president of the United States then at the time, or he probably had enough time to understand his position, I absolutely believe that this is when he understood. A lot of the Haitian presidents, I'm going to go with Aristide, and I'm also going to go with Michel Martelly, these two. You know, I'll go more into it. But a lot of these Haitian presidents, they get into the presidency of Haiti not understanding what it means to become the president of Haiti. It's very important. You don't get into a certain position, nor do you get into a certain title without understanding the back end of it. Do you understand what I mean? I remembered one of the, I'm not going to say the name, one of the places that I worked prior to leaving Haiti in 2015. And it was one of the places where I was decently being paid, considering the Haiti, but I already knew that I was not going to stay, and I already knew that I needed to make another move. Now, I remembered when I was making this plan at that time, I spoke to a friend who really questioned my decision to leave this work, because that person felt like, well, you know, you're getting paid and you this, you that. But as I had entered that place, I had already realized that, first of all, the way that the leadership was done, it was backward. So in that leadership, you had the director and you had the assistant director. What I realized was the assistant director was holding a lot more power than the director. How so? Because the director had a personality of being very malleable. However, the assistant director was a lot firm, but he was using his firmity passive aggressive way, but to make sure that the director understood that he was there. So when I came and I had all these ideas that were coming out of my mind, that I wanted to do this and that, the director really loved it. But I quickly realized that the assistant director was the one who was kind of like talking in the ears of the director, because it's kind of like I would say certain things, I would propose certain things to the director, right? And that person would be really, open to my suggestion. But then it's kind of like 2 days after that, the director would change. It would be like as if I had never proposed anything, or it would be like, we're not really ready, we don't have the funds for that, not really wanting to take risks. So I asked and I proposed twice. After that, I just stepped back and I was like, okay, let me just observe now, because there's a problem. How come every time I'm saying these things to you, you're open to it, but then when after a couple of days, it's like it's a problem. So it's very, very important. That's when I understood that that person did, though it was their business, but they really were not really the one who was making the decision. There was somebody else who was, talking their ears and letting them, putting doubts and stuff like that. I didn't really want to fight. I always had like something else to fall into. So I just removed myself from it altogether. I just did my job. When it was time to go, it was time to go, and I called it a quits. Now, it's very important for us to analyze this president and for me to bring these factual to us as we are entering a new phase here in Haiti. We have other players here in Haiti, and we have an open market here in Haiti. And when I'm saying to people, to my businessmen, Haiti is very important. I understand that there are people who are watching me all over the world, really. The demands are not necessarily coming from my region, nor are they coming from the United States. Some people are watching from Europe, who knows? But Haiti is not really going to, well, I don't want to say Haiti is not going to prosper or none of these things. I just want to say, and I'm bringing these series to you for us together to analyze these Haitian presidents, why and what happened in their terms, who meddled, and how the meddling was done. Because a lot of times, us, the Haitian people, we like to say, oh, the United States is this, is that, but we never really bring in the facts. We never bring in, okay, why and how. So this is it for the first term of the former president of Haiti, Bertrand Aristide. I really hope that you guys are enjoying some of the contents. I am enjoying thinking about different series that I can bring to you guys. I thank you so much for watching. I am realizing that YouTube is giving me a hard time with some of these topic discussions that I want to bring to you. So we have to be very strategic as to how we're going to move forward. I thank you so much for watching. Do not forget that I run Consultation for those of you whom are interested in doing business in Haiti. Please do follow me on Instagram, because I am going to be live at least once a week now on Instagram, bringing in different tips. So you can follow me on at the handle DaisyLove8315. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen, and I will see you in the next.